Frontier opening bell is Wednesday, the 26th day of April. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Bosin Amafaye. Let's hit the ground running. Look at the top stories making the headlines across Africa. But first, let's check in with the markets. As always, and this was how Tuesday looked like. The Egyptian market is yet to reopen after the Ramadan long holiday. So the EGX 30 was still printing 17,516 as at yesterday. But the Nigerian market was up 0.5%. We saw strong buying in the shares of MTN, Stanbic IBTC Holding Company, as well as Lafarge Africa. Of course, the shares of Zenith Bank, Nigeria's largest commercial bank by market cap, also up by roughly 0.5%. We saw very big buy in Transcorp and Access Corp. More than 1 billion shares were traded on Transcorp yesterday, as we saw the struggle for majority ownership in this particular conglomerate ongoing between some of Nigeria's biggest names in the investment and business circuits. All that in the news. In the meantime, the BRVN was up by the same margin on the composite as Nigerian market, but if you see the BRVM composite still below the 200 reading, so the 119.72 is still below the psychological level for the regional exchange for 8 French-speaking West African countries. So I take it all around to the Nairobi stock market, where the all-share index was down by 0.69%, 107.69. The NSE all-share index is still also below the 120 psychological level. And finally, Johannesburg stock market down by 0.29% as shy of 78,000 level, 77,891, where the markets closed in Johannesburg. So let's just put those figures in mind. The Ghana stock market eked out just about 1 point on Tuesday, the first day for a number of markets in Africa, for a few of them, including Nigeria. But let's just take on the East African big headline stories. And the big story is that East African banks are making a very big show at the African Business Awards 2023. They're wrapping up most of the nominations for all the categories that we're seeing for this year's edition of the Africa Business Bankers Africa Bankers Award, which will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh on the sidelines of the AFDB annual meetings in just a couple of weeks down the line. And this is a very good news for East African banks, including, of course, a few from South Africa. One of the banks from Egypt also made the nomination list. There is only one bank also from Senegal. There's absolutely, of course, none from the Nigerian banking space. So we say kudos to the banks in East Africa. In the meantime, the government of President William Ruto, the National Treasury, is looking to offer $2 billion in Eurobonds on the global marketplace in 2024 as Kenya begin to look for foreign exchange liquidity. And of course, the whole issue around the value of the shilling. That's in the news, by the way. But the turnover of the total bonds listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange that were traded in the first quarter, January to March, was down 14%. And that's according to the latest data, because there were tough times, investors and traders, dealers trying to balance their portfolio. And the Treasury in Kenya is looking to tax crypto exchanges, which has about over 4 million Kenyans on its platform. And that's another way in which the Ruto's administration is looking to raise revenue for its new administration in Nairobi. Of course, the government and the private sector foundation Uganda are launching a trade frontier fund for additional $6 billion exports over a 6-year period. That's a horizon those folks are looking at. Let's look into the West African markets and what's making the headlines across economic news, business investments, and all, and finance. Of course, I talked about Transcorp. Yeah, the battle for ownership of Transcorp Transnational Corporation is still on. Nigeria's billionaire businessman and investor Femi Otedola says he has about up to 7% of the shares of this company. There's an annual general meeting today, which is virtually speaking. There's a whole lot of noise around what is going on in Transcorp about how the company has been run over the years. Some analysts on the ground says the company is not being too well run. Its market cap supposed to be a whole lot higher, making more dividends, and the share price just hanging around 2 naira per share. So there's a whole lot big news in Transcorp as to how Tony Elumelu, who's the chairman of the company, will handle all the issues being raised as far as corporate governance, the profitability, and a lot of other issues are concerned within the various business units of Transcorp, from oil and gas to power to hotel and hospitality. That the conglomerate has under its umbrella. It's still a whole lot out there that we are tracking for everyone. But right now, the price is jumping. We saw about 9% uptick yesterday in the shares of Transcorp. So investors will be benefiting from this price rally, with some word on the street. Folks told us on Frontier Africa reports that there's going to be price could go as high as 10 naira per share. So it's a whole lot to digest in Transcorp as we speak. The World Bank is giving Ghana about $372 million as a guarantee, so that Ghana would not default on the Eurobond due 2030. And Burkina Faso's based Onatel, that's a telecommunication company, says its profit was sharply down by 31% in the first quarter, the full year 2022, while about 26 banks in Ghana are looking to have a haircut of about 6.1 billion cedis on the back of a lower coupon that's coming through on the bonds, government bonds they're holding, and the maturity that's been reskewed or rejigged by the government, so they could take a further 6.1 billion loss in haircuts in local currency terms, and that's not some good news. Of course, the Bank of Ghana has asked all banks to recapitalize and raise their minimum paid up capital by the year 2025. In Cote d'Ivoire, the minister in charge of digital economy, Amadou Coulibaly, is warning of cyber attacks. That goes to latest Kaspax's report that there's an increasing number of financial crimes, folks who are using the internet, digital banking space, whatever, to attack for the financial system. And that's part of what the Minister of Digital Economy in Cote d'Ivoire was talking about. Okay, let's take this all together to Southern Africa. Eskom is shortlisting candidates for a new CEO. The troubled utility giant has a whole lot to deal with, and a new CEO is being looked for. In the meantime, the company is launching a new load-saving plan. Will that save the troubled electricity company? Well, the new energy minister says South Africa's electricity problem could well remain for a couple of months into 2024. So it's not going to be over yet if all we know right now is anything to go by. Standard Bank is Africa's largest commercial bank and is reporting a 38% profit jump in the first 3 months of this year, January to March, while Zimbabwe's VFX, that's the dollar-based exchange in Victoria Falls, says it's looking to double its listings to 20 by the end of this year. And the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is reintroducing a gold-backed digital currency to stabilize the Zimbabwean dollar. The RBZ is doing everything possible to keep the Zimbabwean dollar afloat and prevent a runaway exchange rate against the American greenback. Okay, let's touch base with North Africa. Onatel, which is Celcom, I beg your pardon. Celcom in Tunisia is reporting its numbers for the year 2023 first quarter, reporting a turnover down by about 23%. In the meantime, the National Agricultural Bank net banking income was up 14%. Also in Tunisia for the first quarter of the year. And Morocco's central bank, the Bank Al Maghrib, says it's floating an instant bank transfer platform in the month of May, next month. Keep an eye on that. The S&P has lowered Egypt's outlook from stable to negative, and that's no good news for President Sisi's administration on the back of the public debt that the government is raking up. Of course, remember at the last spring meetings, the IMF Managing Director, Christina Georgieva, was advising Egypt to slow down a little bit on its many ambitious mega infrastructure projects. And Panoro Energy has finalized 100% acquisition of its subsidiary, CFAX Petroleum Corporation. And those are your headlines on the Economy, Investment, Business and Finance this Wednesday, the 26th of April. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you next time. Bye for now.